so we'll jump right into it about negotiation. So that is me up there, and I do truly appreciate everyone who's in here, and we'll have question and answer towards the end of this, so that's why I believe will be the best in terms of the value add component. So don't hesitate to stop me throughout the presentation, because it's going to be very quick to where I'm just providing more of a story on myself, and then also how I've been able to leverage negotiation. So. All right, art of negotiation. So, it's not coming up on that side. Maybe it does. All right, there we go. So that is me, Sterling White, born and raised in Indianapolis, Indiana. So I've mentioned the people in the not so good parts of the city where you wouldn't want to walk your dog at night or even during the day. So had a mother, that single mother, raised both my brother and I. We grew up Section 8 housing, welfare, food stamps, any other type of government assistance as well. I'm pretty sure my mother didn't tell me about. So as a kid, I wanted all the new hip things, the clothes, the shoes. So through that is I had to figure out a way to earn money in the legal sense, because there was tons of illegal activity that was going on around me, but didn't want to take that path. So that's where the whole entrepreneurship birth came into existence for me, where my first product was Kool-Aid, where I took a plastic bag, put Kool-Aid in it, and also sugar, and then I sold that to kids throughout elementary school. Then my second product was actually Pokemon cards. And from there, just anything I can get my hands on and selling, that's how the whole entrepreneurship came into existence. And how I got started in real estate was in 2009, where things weren't going so well. My roommate's dad owned a construction company, pulled me into it, and through that was able to learn a lot of the ins and outs of getting my hands dirty, did a lot of grunt work in that. And I realized from that standpoint, I knew I wanted to be in real estate, but not on that side. So that's where I was able to shift more to the investing, where my very first deal that I acquired was $25,000. Which was not out of my pocket. It was my mentor's pocket. I actually had negative funds in my bank account because I over-withdrew it just being a kid. And so through the course of that we put an additional $25,000 into it and rented it for $850. And so the transition to where I am now, own 480 units that is comprised of single family as well as multifamily, and have raised over $11.5 million in terms of equity for those deals, and the total valuation of that portfolio is over $26 million. Why I'm telling you guys that is not bragging by any means. I still make tons of mistakes till this day. Prime example is I actually just on a recent deal was a little aggressive in terms of the rents, so got a verbal acceptance on 150 unit on the contract, and our property manager reevaluated those rents and said that, yeah, you are very aggressive on that, so this is actually what we're going to be able to shoot those towards after reposition, so we have to come down on the price of $1 million. So that was not a very great conversation to have with the owner after they had already verbally accepted. But just to show you, not perfect by any means, and just sharing my experiences. So. And in case you all were wondering where all of my hair went, for some reason, as soon as this little one was born, it just all started to just go to her for some reason. So it's not the stresses of real estate. Go through these. All right. So we're discussing the topic of negotiation. So from my personal opinion and personal experiences, negotiation is when both sides at the end of as the end result is a win-win situation, to where you buy a property owner's deal and that what you pay for the property, that the owner does not feel that they got taken over. So that's what I feel is a great negotiation. So now I'm going to jump into a couple negotiations that I have been in myself. So this is a 80 units apartment that we acquired in October of last year, which the total purchase price was $2.25, and we raised, my partner and I, over $1 million to acquire that. And just a backstory on it was the owner originally was not interested whatsoever when we placed the original call to purchase the property. We do all direct, and so it took about 9 months to actually, from the time of initial contact, 4 months actually, to then within that time period keep following up, and then the 5th month is when they shifted from not being interested to then interested. So, and then once we actually got the deal under contract, we experienced there was a lot more renovations and costs that were associated with getting the property to where we needed to be after we done the inspection, such as the parking lot was in very distressed condition, which we were aware of, but there was tons of foundational issues that we did not foresee, and also the decks needed to be more properly secure, so there was more expenses associated with that. So through the course of that, we did not want to retrade whatsoever, which is just another word for renegotiating. So what we did was, and this is by far one of my favorite negotiations, is offering multiple options to the seller. And so the multiple options negotiation is, the first one is they do the work, the second is we do the work, and then the fourth one is we walk away. And what I mean by this is the first option is the total purchase was $2.5 million originally was what we went under contract with. And once we discovered what all those costs were going to be associated with that were pointed out in the inspection, we gave them the options that, hey, if we do the work, we're more than happy to, we're going to have to pay $2.25 million, which is what we ended up paying for it for. Or if you do the work, we'll pay the $2.5 million at our current agreed terms. And then the last option is we'll just simply walk away. So that was the negotiation that we were able to leverage in that and provide the seller multiple options. And they just ended up taking the option that we do the work. So at closing, we received the credit. So option one is they do the work and they pay for it. Correct. Exactly. All right. Okay. It's not working like I thought it was going to work. All right. So I just went ahead and pulled all the points. So this is another deal that we use, the negotiation that is their price, our terms, which some of you may be familiar with. So it's a 50 unit in Beech Grove, Indiana, where the seller was absolute in terms of wanting to get $1.4 million for that property. And we kept going back and forth in terms of, hey, would you be able to accept $1.2 million? They said no. Would you do a seller financing? And we sat at the table and they just looked at us like, absolutely not whatsoever. I would not have showed up to this meeting if I knew you were going to present seller financing. So there was that. So what we ended up selling on was, okay, your price will stick to the $1.4 million. That's completely fine. But we would like for you to do is the parking lot was in distressed condition. It needed quite a bit of work. So we had them go in there, re-seal coat, restripe the parking lot. That was probably $40,000 to $50,000 in terms of work. So you can look at that as a reduction of the purchase price. And then also we were able to get a contract extension on that as well, because originally on the deal, we were going through an agency partner to get financing. Deal fell through, so we were able to go to the seller and get another extension so we could scramble and get more cash to be able to close. So that's their price, your terms. And this has worked on another deal that we've worked on as well, such as the seller was stuck on price. The roofs needed to be replaced. So we said that, yes, we're more than happy to pay the price that you have, but before closing, you're going to have to replace those roofs. And one lesson that was actually learned from that deal is we should have had in writing how they were going to replace the roofs, because they actually just did a overlay versus doing the tear off and then putting it on there. So that was a lesson learned on that, is to always have everything in writing. So I'm gonna move on to another deal. All right. So that is me doing a interesting squat. I was very excited about getting my first apartment deal, 46 units. And I took the driving for dollars approach to actually find this. This was actually my old 2001 Honda Accord. Hopefully other people in here are Honda fans. I really love the great gas mileage on those things, and they last forever. So this was another one where it was their price, our terms, where it ended up being so this property needed it was in complete shit condition. And as you can see, parking lot has the alligator cracks, the decks were completely needed work, all the interiors were completely outdated. So through the course of that is $900,000 was what the seller absolutely wanted. So what we were able to do was seller financing in terms of negotiation. One thing that really helped us to get this seller financing was that they were highly motivated. This was actually their last apartment that they had, so we were able to leverage that. So through the course of that is we got the seller financing, and then on top of that, we were able to negotiate the interest rate as well. So they were wanting to do a standard fixed rate on the interest, which was probably 9 to 10% over the course of the 3 years. But we were able to do pinpoint, slim that down, do like a 3% first year, 6% the next year, and I believe it goes up to 7 the third year. So this is just another prime example of their price, their terms, and just overall everything is negotiable. So that's one thing that I will always kind of just convey to everyone, that if someone's stuck on a specific point, then there's always something else that you can go to kind of pinpoint on. Correct. So how this worked was total purchase was $900,000, and we put down $200,000 to acquire it, and then the seller, they owned it free and clear, so it was $700,000 that they provided in the form of a loan, in which my partner and I, there was a mortgage filed, so it's recourse on that side. I always want to go non-recourse, and recourse just means that if things don't go so well, and the owner has to take back the property, and let's say their things are lost, they can come after both my partner and I, versus non-recourse, they can just go after the property. We actually have it on the market now. So if you are a buyer, so we're starting to move up in terms of larger apartments, because what we like is the bigger the deals, the more economies of scale that you're able to get. So with the 46 unit, you're not able to get a full-time maintenance on site and also property manager. So we're moving up to apartment 75 plus. That way we can get that scale. In terms of on the underwriting side? That would be definitely a question for my partner. When it comes to numbers, 2 + 2 = 17 for me. But I'm happy to get context on that for you. So great question. We raised an additional $685,000 to take care of the improvements. And the structure we did with our investors was an 8% debt. So that's actually what we not did experience, because we're in the second year, so there's not a balloon, but the interest rate did go up, so that affected our cash flow, because we were having some difficulties getting through the construction, which delayed things, and then also the occupancy was a little bit of a struggle as well. We now have it stabilized, but through the course of all those bumps that we had, that's why one of the reasons why we're selling it, because we just got too far behind the ball. And also we're moving up to more desirable assets. So one thing I wanted to mention is extended balloon, awesome on that. So it's not up there? So for those of you, I do have a book, which is from 0 to 400 units. So you can ask me after that if you like a request where it's just more of my background and how I went from 0 to 400 units, but now we'll just jump into question and answer. You said, what was that one more time? Contract offer. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so all those things that you mentioned. So we'll have a 30-day due diligence period, and this can also go into negotiations with the seller as well. And on that specific property, we did 30-day due diligence period, and we were actually able to get a 90-day closing time frame. So 60 days after the due diligence period ends is when we have the time to get the financing to actually close on the deal. But what we've seen, that's actually shrinking even more. On the deal that we have listed, we have, well, just spoke with the broker on the phone, so we've accepted at asking price on, so a buyer came in, submitted an LOI at asking, we're going to contract, but that's 60 days. So they have 30-day due diligence and then 30 days to actually close on the property after that. Correct, yes. That depends how you have it in your contract. You can always, if you have, they say going hard day one, there's contingencies you can have in that. But yes, your earnest money is refundable. Sometimes some buyers or some sellers try and fight that, but you're fine in terms of. So on the purchase that we had, the 80 units, 2.25 million, that was about $50,000 of earnest money that was sent out. That was refundable. And then there's the 30-day period for us that during the inspection period, and you can call it feasibility period as well, that we can have that ability to actually back out. So after that 30 days, then there's no back out, and our money actually is non-refundable at that present time. Correct. Well, I mean, as soon as we go under contract, that's when we're starting to raise funds. Well, depending on how confident we are that there's not going to be absolute red flags during when we're walking through all the units. For us, it's mostly direct to the owner. There may be on certain deals an attorney to attorney. So on that 80 unit that was there, we were actually coordinating directly with the attorney on that. So we offered the 3 options, and then they presented that to the actual owner. But we already had conversations with the owner prior to that. Mhm. Yeah, so this goes into the sales element, meaning how long have you been in the market to sell? That's one question. Why now is another good question. And then also another one to get them to really be, what's the word I'm looking for, more confident in you is to say, why would you sell the property to me? And why do you believe I would be a good, because you want them to also, you want to sell yourself. And this is one big thing that I've learned is even though when you're buying, you're still selling. But yes, those initial questions is why now? And then another one is who else other than yourself would be involved with the decision making? Because if you don't have the correct person in front of you and you're trying to influence them, then you're not really going to go much place. I, I believe we've gone back and forth on this too, but either way, it averages out. So up front, they won't get the tax hit. They'll just get it at a later point. But that's something you may want to coordinate with the CPA on. You had a question. Yeah, so friends and family, and then also investors that we've met at local real estate meetups, biggerpockets.com, investors who may have heard me on the podcast, these type of events, so investors from across the country. We don't go through agents. I'm just kidding. You can still ask those questions. Yeah, I mean, because they're also working with you as well. So if you just ask them, why are they looking at, they may not be entirely, I wouldn't say honest, but give you the full picture on why the person is selling. They may just give you a high level and not tell you that, hey, the foundation is absolutely needs to be worked on. You would encounter those during your actual inspection. But those are still questions that you can ask the agent. And that's normally been my go-to with brokers, where I'll ask a broker is, why is the property sat on the market for 90, 100 days? What's been the feedback from the market thus far to lead to that? So you can ask those hard questions to an agent. So we've worked with brokers and we're still doing those relationships, but we haven't gotten anything from them at this moment. Yeah. So the lessons that I learned from the single family side, I just simply replicated for the apartment side. So we do cold calling as well to get in touch with these owners. It's all scripted out as well. I'll just give everyone a little sample role play that I've learned. So you call the owner, ring ring. They say, hello, this is John. Hey John, Sterling here. Wanted to personally reach out to you. I own Bentwood Apartments across the street. Wanted to see if you consider on selling. They say, no, not whatsoever. Why'd you call me? John, I completely understand, and I know this call's out of the blue. Give me 30 seconds. If you don't like what you hear, I'll hang up on myself. Sound fair? So that's a little bit in terms of what was replicated from the single family to the multifamily. And then the driving for dollars approach, we just took that specific 46 unit. We knew we wanted to be on the south side of Indianapolis. So took the approach and just found a neighborhood and saw that property needed work, pulled the public records, and then saw who the owner was and gave him a call. You're welcome. You said what? The role play? Okay, go ahead and give me a call. Yes. Oh. Yes, I'm calling you. Okay, yes. All righty. Ring, 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 ring. Yes, do I have the pleasure of speaking with Anastasia? Yes, Anastasia, this is Sterling here. I see that you own a Bentwood Apartments, and I just purchased the ones across the street. Wanted to personally reach out to see if you consider on selling. Yeah, I completely understand. I'm sure you've got tons of things going on. Give me 30 seconds. If you don't like what you hear, I'll hang up on myself. Does that sound good? Awesome, awesome, perfect. So if for the right price, would you consider selling Bentwood Apartments? Gotcha. Okay, I hear you. I completely understand. And as I alluded to, I'm sure you got tons of things going on. But, okay, say that one more time. Okay, gotcha. Completely understand. If I were in your shoes, especially in today's market, I'd hold on to the property too. If I provided you the right price, would you consider selling? Gotcha. Okay, completely understand. On our end, in order to provide a great offer that would work for you, we would just need to better understand the financials of the property. Yeah, so all I would need is just a rent roll in T12, which is the trailing 12 profit and loss. And from that, we'll be able to turn it around in 24 hours in terms of an offer. Okay, all right. So that goes that's a little bit into the role playing because oftentimes you'll get owners that are just may not have had a good day, and yeah, you just have to constantly. A lot of times people will just say not interested just to say not interested. Mhm. Yeah, so that's a great question. It's yeah, the LLC is public record. You can take that LLC, and one phenomenal source I would mention to everyone is a website is Google. Google. So you can take the LLC, type it into the search, and you look for certain directories such as Better Business Bureau, BBB.org, Manta.com, Open Corporates, and it'll have the LLC and it'll have a manager, owner associated with that. And then you'll take that and then do the skip tracing further to find the contact information. And then we are targeting mom and pops. So we're looking at apartments. So we're very targeted. So we'll say Indianapolis, Indiana, or well, I was going to say Chicago, but not very landlord friendly. So Indianapolis, Indiana, apartments 75 to 200 units that are built between 1950 and 1980 that have rents between 600 to 800. So very targeted to where we can get more of those mom and pop operators. Yeah, so it's always, I will set that person on a, it depends on how that message was. If they absolutely say that it's owned in a trust, I'm going to own it for the long term, then just move on. But they say just not interested, it's not the right time, I will follow up with that person the following month. Because I'll just give a prime example for people is I called on an owner that was in, they had an apartment that was in Cincinnati, Ohio, husband and wife. They said they would never sell whatsoever, not anytime soon. 2 months later, they were facing a divorce and sold the property to another buyer. So that was a huge lesson learned on that, to always just stay top of mind. And that's one thing I mentioned to people is our team has direct mail to stay top of mind of these owners. So it's best to be creative instead of just doing cold calls. So we'll send a Rubik's Cube, which many of you may have heard. That'll say a small note that says, "Hey, let's figure this out." Or we'll send a shoe that says, "Hey, looking to get my foot in the door." So little things like that that just allow you to stay top of mind. Because it's all about timing, because anything could happen to where they're not interested to them being interested, and then you're the one that is top of mind, though, more likely to give you the call. So we built our own, yeah, from scratch in terms of, yeah, we built our own through our own platform. Hmm. Correct. No, we don't take that into consideration. Yeah, go. That is what we're doing on a deal right now with the sellers are not really budging. So this is being creative. On top of that is being of value. So this is another negotiation thing that I love to leverage as well, is one, offer the 1031, and then also there's another property to where there's a sticking point in terms of what we can buy the property for and what they want. So one thing is I offer, hey, I know that you're looking to make renovations for your parking lot. Can I assist with finding you a vendor? So that's another alternative, is being of value. That way when they do end up selling, because they're going to sell at some point because they're just running the property into the ground, that Sterling has assisted me along this process. Maybe it doesn't work out and they end up putting on the market and selling it for top dollar, but still I was able to, I feel, from my standpoint, bring enough value. That way they still kind of feel a little bit obligated to sell to me in a way. We're shifting more to that now. There's been 2 times where the financing did not go through. So he means agency debt through the big lenders, Fannie, Freddie Mac, where you get some very favorable terms. And so now we're shifting more to that. On our most recent deals, we've gone with a regional bank where the interest rate on our most recent one was, I believe, 5.25, which at that time we could have got more favorable, like maybe a 4.75 or 4.5 in terms of the interest rate. So there's more flexibility, I would say, with the regional versus the agency is what we had experienced. Because with the regional, we're actually dealing directly with the person who is involved with the decision making, versus on the agency side, we're normally going through a broker that we don't know what's exactly going on behind the scenes. No, not for the multifamily side. Yeah. No. How they underwrite, how they do pull your credit, but on that they ensure that you meet the requirements, the liquidity on the loan, and also the net worth. That's what they look at from. Yeah, that's different. Yeah, it's not associated with you, especially since it's non-recourse. For the first 2 years, it's recourse, and then it shifts to non-recourse, and that was also negotiations too with the bank, meaning that they wanted it to be recourse through the entire through the entire loan, but we were able to get the first 2 years and then shift the remaining 5 years, because it's a 7-year term, to non-recourse. Of course, there's bad boy carve-outs. If we commit fraud or something, then they can come after us. Yeah, so great question. And this does vary up on deal, but we like the straight equity structure, to where it'll be, you can play with the split to determine what you're going to provide to them. But we like to give our partners between 9 to 11%, and that's just on the cash on cash. That's what we focus on. And there's also IRR on the exit, but just more on the cash on cash is what we look at. So on that deal that I had up there, that was a 75%, 25% to our partners. And that it's also the same in the event that we sell the property, is they get their cash back first that they've invested, and then 75% of the net goes to them, and then 25% to us. Does that answer? Would you want more details or? Mhm. From our side, when we put the deal together, this is the deal, these are the returns that we provide. Are you on board or no? And then if not, then we have other investors where that's a good fit for them. There's some times where investors, they're looking at the legal documents and they want to pinpoint and say, I don't like that there, I don't like that there, but there's no negotiation. That's something that our attorneys put together, and that's just how it is. 0. Don't deal with it. Nothing wrong with Section 8. Gotcha. So what I'll do with a specific owner to stay top of mind, and this is why we're based in Indianapolis, Indiana. We decided to expand to Louisville, Kentucky because it's an hour 45 away. Let's say it's Monday, for instance. I'll call the owner at Bentwood Apartments. Hey, John, I just happen to be in the neighborhood this upcoming Thursday. Would love to put my hand in your hand to get some face-to-face. And through that, that's one way to be of value. And then also, I also offer alternatives that, hey, in the event that you do sell the property to us, these are some, vendors that you can go to in the event that you decide to do a 1031 exchange. So I will help be of service on that side to at least point them in the direction. So just not making it just very transactional, making it, hey, in the event that you do sell the property, it's just not that. We do above and beyond that. As I was alluding to earlier with the individual with the parking lot, that we assisted with finding a vendor for him. Correct. That is correct. That is correct. And most of the sellers are mom and pop, as you had alluded to, so they may not even want to go through a broker or list it online. So that's the advantage that we have, and that we're able to leverage in the negotiation as well, that, hey, there's not going to be any commission involved. You'll be dealing directly with us. It's not going to be publicized on the internet. If that's something that is of interest to them, this is also that I leverage in negotiation, that we'd be happy to point you in the direction of a broker that could assist you with that. So 100% cold call. The direct mail piece is just a way to stay top of mind with an owner. Let's say we submitted an offer on the property and they just absolutely fell into the twilight zone and we're not able to get in touch with them. That's when we'll implement the direct mail to stay top of mind, and we'll send it to their primary residence, because we'll be able to do FBI agent ninja stuff to find that contact. Address. Yeah, and all this is done through virtual assistants, which I know you're great on the virtual assistants. You offered some great recommendations last event too. We outsource it to where we'll pay someone to do all of that legwork. So we'll use Ben Verified, BEEN verified.com, and then there's also another one that's completely free, that is True People Search or People True Search, something along those lines. That we leverage as well. And then we'll shoot a tutorial video that says, okay, this is the exact process, and then we'll push it over to them and say, here's all the owners that we're looking to get in touch with. Go find it by using these platforms to do the skip tracing. And then from there, we have a researcher, and this is a little bit into our infrastructure. We have a researcher that does all that. And then we have a cold caller who's the one that places all the calls. And then we have myself, who's you could say, essentially head of acquisitions. This person, the cold caller, does the qualifying, calling all these owners, seeing whether or not they're interested in selling. If they are interested in selling, then they set the appointment with me. So they're probably making anywhere between 75 to 100 calls a day. The script is, so for our acquisitions person, it's more of, hey, my name is Sterling. I work with 2 investors who are buying properties in the area with cash. I wanted to reach out to you the investors I work with wanted me to personally reach out to you to see if you consider on selling. So that's a little bit of shift from theirs. And then they just go into the standard, the qualification. Person says, yes, they're interested. And we always like to get some back and forth and say, hey, do you have an apartment over 75 units? They say yes. Awesome. What if we were to provide the right price, what would that be? Okay, perfect. Let me go ahead and set an appointment with my boss to speak directly with you. It'll be less than 5 minutes of your time. If you wanted to further continue, that'll be it. And if we're not a good fit, we'll point you in the right direction and then set the appointment. I would say on a high level, we're looking at 175 to 200 properties to submit 10 letter of intents to snag 1 deal. So quite a bit of volume, and it takes yeah. It's a lot. No, I'm just kidding.
One last question.
I don't. Everything's public. I mean, your phone knows where you are. Facebook has data points on you. So I would say from that, I don't really focus on that. If someone could find me, they know where I am. That's all I have on that.
All right.